So today, like, we will explore more about challenges, opportunities, and even cross collaboration. And these events, pre-jam is a result of our collaboration within the different Chinese Polkadot communities. And we will also discuss about developer education and more on. So before we dive in, let's take a moment to hear from our panelists here. So to kick things off, I'd like to ask each of you to have a brief introduction about yourself. For example, your roles, your contribution, and maybe like the challenging topics you might be interested to discuss within the Polkadot ecosystem. So let's first start from Dixon from OneBlock.
Hello, everyone. This is Dixon. I'm the marketing lead at OneBlock. So OneBlock is actually the largest Chinese-speaking developer community for Polkadot. And we actually doing a lot of offline and online events, and by initiating a lot of Polkadot and Rust courses, and also by doing the hackathons and organizing different offline events, we are trying to attract more Chinese-speaking developers to join the Polkadot ecosystem. And so the challenges maybe we are facing in the future is how can we actually convert more Web2 developers to Web3, because this is a growing and booming industry. Yeah, pretty much.
Patricia.
Hi, I'm Patricia. I'm from OpenGuild, so I'm one of the core contributors. I have here with Chris, he's somewhere, but for OpenGuild, we are actually the same with OneBlock, but with OpenGuild, we focus more in Southeast Asia. We're focused doing also offline and online events. Offline for meetups, coding sessions, and all developer-related initiatives. I think the challenges that we have for OpenGuild and in Southeast Asia is more into totally different languages and totally different cultures. And of course, like the interests and what kind of developers they have. Actually, there's a lot of challenges. So yeah, but we're very happy that since last year we're trying to push things for Polkadot one by one for each country, and it's starting to feel like they are trusting Polkadot along with other protocols in their countries. So yeah.
Thanks for your introduction. And then welcome Phil from EZA.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see everybody. Thank you all for coming out. I know a lot of you traveled very far to be here today. For anybody who hasn't met me yet, I am Phil, co-founder of EZA. EZA is the world's biggest Web3 education app. So it's an app that you can download to learn about the world's leading Web3 ecosystems. But a bit of background on myself. Show of hands of who got involved through proof of work, through mining, and that sort of bit, right? Okay, cool. I think a lot of us, maybe a couple of years ago, were getting involved through this, so through proof of work. I got my start through Bitcoin mining in 2013. So that was the beginning of a lot of things. I was at school, came across the Bitcoin white paper, and I was just absolutely amazed by it. I was like, this is crazy. This was at the backdrop of the financial crisis, 08, 09, and a lot of people were thinking, well, how did this ever happen? How can we make sure that this doesn't happen? And this was a beacon of light, beacon of hope, and I just fell in love with it. So this idea behind peer-to-peer electronic cash, went back home and I learned everything that I possibly could about CPUs, GPUs, FPGAs, ASICs, you name it, PSUs. I mean, I was having like the best time of my life hooking up all these power supply units, making sure it could all work, experimenting with the right amount of overclocking as well. It was just a magical time. That was also the year of altcoins in 2013. So, of course, Bitcoin's becoming gradually harder and harder to mine. I was like, well, two things were on my mind. Number one was, how do we actually make this proof of work more useful? And so I was really, really excited about things like Primecoin, which were using this large amount of computational power to mine prime numbers, right? To find prime numbers. And then the other thing I was really excited about was also things that were more like ASIC resistant, right? So Litecoin, Feathercoin, mining, all of those types as well. But flash forward a couple of years, ended up winning a scholarship at Cambridge University, then took a break from software, ended up becoming an attorney out in New York, came back to Web3 together with Dom, my co-founder, and our whole vision was to make it much, much easier to get into Web3. Because I think what we've found over the years was that via proof of work, a lot of people could get involved. We were seeing this transition to proof of stake, which made the opportunities different. You couldn't really get involved too much unless you already had a lot of capital. But what you could do is start building. So the opportunities had changed. But I think that not enough people had maybe realized that. A lot of people thought, well, you can build in proof of work, or you can get involved in the network in proof of work, like I first did. But other than that, how do you actually get involved? And so we wanted developers to be able to come into the space to realize that they could tap into these new opportunities that there were in Web3 and ultimately get the next billion people into the space. So that's us, co-founded EZA. We now have over 1 million users, and the startups that they founded are worth over $3 billion. Got a lot more to share on that, but of course, that's just a brief introduction myself. We are also hosting the Polkadot Hackathon, which is going to be on Wednesday and Thursday. So that'll be right at the main venue at Consensus. So looking forward to seeing lots of you there.
What a fascinating contribution and your understanding from Web3 OGN. So the next part, let's welcome Christine from Polkadot.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon. This is I'm Kristen from Polkadot, and we are focusing on educating global Chinese community about Polkadot, Web3, Substrate, and keeping them, stay updated, helping them to stay updated for the ecosystem development. And me personally, I'm involved in the eco research. It's within the Polkadot and Web3, for the cutting edge technologies and the burning topics. And also, I'm conducting in-person interviews for the key builders in Polkadot ecosystem. Thank you.
Thanks for those insightful introduction. So it's very clear, with you a brief understanding and the landscape of Web3, and it's focused on Polkadot. So then let's start from one by one for each of the specialized questions for each of our guests. So first, let's start from Patricia. You have mentioned one of the barrier is the language within Southeast Asia, right? And I also have seen. In the past year, OpenGuild have organized a series of hackathons and developer-oriented meetup in Vietnam and Philippines. So can you let us know, share the impact of OpenGuild hackathon and developer events in the past year? And I'm also curious about what's your plan for scale the developer base in the Southeast Asia area?
Yeah. So first, before the developers, right, we started looking for reputable partners locally, because if you don't have these partners in Web3 communities, then you cannot communicate to their communities, right? So it was a long road for us to find different teams or organizations to partner with, because, well, we are representing Polkadot. So it has to be, someone very reputable or someone who has a very good, how do you say this, a track record in these local communities. So after that, we started to be, giving all awareness. So we really started events, meetups, and all this, because for us to find, developers are hiding in their own cage, right? It's so hard for them to come out and do events and meetups. They don't do that. They want to be sitting and code and build. So for OpenGuild, we were able to, fortunately, we have really good partners, and we were able to, get them out of their cages, these developers. Also, we're encouraging this next generation of aspiring developers through, partnering with universities. But again, you're going back to the local partners. And I think the impact is that, like what I mentioned earlier, the local communities are starting to trust Polkadot because from my own experience, from all these events, from all these conversations, we will always get that, we will always receive this comment that, oh, at least Polkadot is still alive, you know. There's really a lot of things that people are saying, and now that we are there, you know, present, there's trust, and now they start to see what we have, what technology we have, what we can offer, and how everyone can join, not just developers, right? So yes, last year it was more on Vietnam, Philippines. We also started Thailand. We are starting to do more. I don't know, like Singapore, Malaysia. Hopefully, we can do more there. But again, it's gonna be a long road for every country if you really want to be introduced. If you want to have a strong foundation. Yeah, so hopefully we will do it this year, but I have a very positive mindset for this.
Thank you. It seems not easy at the beginning stage, especially while facing strong competition from other ecosystem like some of like Solana or Ethereum, right? So I'm just also like curious about what the user profile looks like in Southeast Asia.
It's very different. That's also one thing, you know. That's also one of the challenges because, like for example, Vietnam is very known to have a lot of developers, a lot of builders, which is opposite of the Philippines. Philippines, we are consumer communities. We like to use applications. We don't, at least before, we're not into building, but recently you're starting to introduce how you can build your own app, how you can build, let's say, on Polkadot. But we have this very different range of builders in each country, and it's good to know that because at least you will know how to approach, and you don't just make an event and then that's it. Whoever will come will come. It's very targeted, but there will always be challenges, which will make you mature because you understand and you get to solve it eventually.
That's great. Learn and start from understanding what's the real demand from the developers and starting to categorize of different level for that. Nice insight. Then, the next question, let's shift the gears to Phil from EZA. Actually, I'm also a user from the Polkadot Learning app. It's very user-friendly, especially for me as a non-tech background person. So I'm also curious about what kind of challenges you have faced while developing these apps. And I'm also wondering, I would say this question might happen within the general developer community within Web3. What's the transition model from the learner to practical use case for developers?
That's a great question. And first of all, congratulations on being an EZA
Thank you.
user. It means you're already ahead of the curve on a lot of people. Of course, you're here as well. So I think that's a great question. My perspective on this is twofold. I mean, two questions there. So first of all, how do you transition from a learner into a builder? And I think that if you look at the journey, it's really a journey, right? I think that sometimes we try and throw docs at people and expect them to build something. And we host like really, really technical workshops. And in Web3, we love doing this, right? It's just like the most technical thing is like a live coding session, bring along your laptops. In reality, the way that people come on this journey and get into Web3 and start building is they get inspired, right? And so that is the core of what we try to do at EZA. And you look at the Polkadot modules in the EZA app, it's always starting with a story, right? So for example, with Polkadot, obviously there's a story of Gav, right? With Moonbeam, we talk about the story. What was Derek doing before he actually founded Moonbeam? I think that's absolutely key. And then once people understand and they're inspired, there's something that they can resonate with. And ultimately also that's what's sticky. You talk about competition with other ecosystems. For me, because we're bringing new users into the ecosystem, I never see any competition. And I know that Dom and I, we never really see competition because it's really about bringing new people into the space. And so flashback maybe a couple of years flashback a couple of years right into the past, I think the space was obviously really, really small, and maybe it was really only for a handful of very, very technical people at the time. We're at the stage where there's all sorts of ways that you can get involved in the ecosystem. A little bit of alpha, as well as we are getting our EZA app. In the EZA app, we are developing a new round of Polkadot resources as well. Not just resources, but a whole new journey, which is going to be focusing, of course, on what is next for Polkadot. And there's a very, very exciting new chapter in Polkadot's life cycle that, of course, Gav is going to share later on today as well. And then to your point of the second question as well is on the point of looking at more and more people joining the space and bringing them in. I think if we look at the type of person who's coming in right now, obviously we need to recognize the cycle that we're in. And so we know that crypto is very cyclical. And we look at something like, a lot of builders will look at the token price, right? They'll look at, okay, what is the token doing right now? Is this hot space to build in? What are other people building? And so I think that that's something that to be cognizant of as well. It's that a lot of people who are coming in right now, they're coming in because they've seen the token price. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? There's the whole price innovation cycle, which has really shown its way and proven itself across the years. You know, basically for anybody who doesn't know about the price innovation cycle, it's essentially that when the price goes up, more builders come in, price goes down, maybe fewer new builders come in, but the people who came in the previous cycle continue to build. And that's what we've seen time and time again. So you mentioned Solana earlier. When Solana started ripping, this was about end of the year before last year, we saw a huge number of builders start to come into the ecosystem. But I think that, you know, for an ecosystem like Polkadot, for example, one thing that we're really, really strong on is actually the founder, right? So Gav, what is Gav doing? Co-founder of Ethereum, created Solidity, created the Ethereum yellow paper. I mean, he's probably built more than like 99% of founders in Web3 as just a single person on his own. So I think that's what's really exciting for people, and obviously we're going to hear from him later today.
Nice insights. Cause like recently, I've seen Polkadot. They launched a Kaito leadership, and that's the first time we have seen the influence from Polkadot. And but I saw like a huge difference between within Polkadot ecosystem and other blockchain ecosystems. So I'm also like want to ask your observation. From your observation, like any like different point you have seen while educating developer from Polkadot and compared to other ecosystem like Solana or Move or other Ethereum part. For example, we have seen like Solana and Move. They are all like Rust developer and same on Polkadot, but still different, right?
Yeah, great question. And first of all, shout out to Flavio and also to Dom, who I've seen on the Kaito leaderboard. They've been really, really boosting a lot, and obviously Flavio's tweets are second to none. So I think that that's really, really exciting to see the things like the Kaito leaderboard are getting people, well, first of all, showcasing people who are already posting, but second of all, also allowing people to become incentivized to post a little bit more. It's a great question. I mean, Dom and I think about this a lot, right? How can we encourage more people to post in the Polkadot ecosystem? I grew up in London in the UK, and the reason I mention that is because as Europeans, we tend to share a little bit less, and Polkadot does have its sort of European roots. We tend to like stuff on social media a little bit less, and in terms of tapping the like button, right? We might see the same stuff, and also we share less, right, than maybe our US counterparts or people in other nations. So that's a really, really interesting thing, right? It's just more of a cultural shift in some respects. But in other respects as well, I think that what we see as the difference between the communities is also perhaps a focus on bringing in more users to the network, right? And Polkadot, this isn't necessarily a fault of itself historically. Maybe, I think going forwards, the network is changing its approach slightly. But Polkadot itself hasn't necessarily been something that can attract users itself, right? Which is very, very different to a Solana, or you talk about the movie ecosystems like Sui or Aptos. As a user, you're probably not going to be using Polkadot itself, right? I don't know, you're going to be like, making some like XCM transfers, right? You just want an app that you can connect your wallet to and then use. And historically, that's always been on the parachain side. So I think there's the technological difference. And then there's also, of course, what's coming, though, with Asset Hub, where you will probably, as a user, just be able to use it, right? And smart contracts on Asset Hub with Plaza and these new developments. you'll be able to use that directly. So I think that's set to change, and I think that things like the Cato AI leaderboard are very, very cool. And of course, with the EasyX Polkadot University, we're excited to bring more people to the space and get them sharing as well what they're building.
Yeah, that's a very excellent cornerstone, especially for what EZA have done in the past. And really, thanks for your sharing. And thank you. And next question is for Dixon. It's turning to OneBlock. We have seen like OneBlock has driven a force in the Chinese developer community, and I'm wondering what were OneBlock's achievements in the past year, and what do you plan to inspire even a great improvement within the Chinese community? Because as one of our panelists here used to mention, does Polkadot still alive? It seems a very common question that people ask, especially during the blockchain conference. So could you like to give like more us some encourage and inspiration for that?
Yeah, just like you just asked, some people may wondering or ask, is Polkadot still alive? But statistically, from the paperwork and in report for Chinese-speaking developers, and so the #1 developing language will be Ethereum, and second is Solana. But Polkadot still ranked #3 in China for all the developers. So yeah, we are still trying to attract more Chinese-speaking developers to the Polkadot community. And in 2024, we have seen like great numbers because we actually organized 41 offline events and online events, and we actually attracted more than 600 developers to attend our offline events. And also, we organized 2 hackathons, one in Singapore and also one in Bangkok, and we attracted 611 developers, and also we have incubated 109 projects through the hackathons. Yeah, so I think those are great numbers we have seen, and also we are trying to collaborate with top universities in China, like Wuhan University, Shenzhen University. So once we get more interaction with the students, especially college students who study in CS, like computer science, and also different languages, and so we can actually convert more Web2 developers and also college students to come into the Web3 and also have more insights about the Polkadot world. Yeah. So that's what have been achieved and also what we are trying to do in the future. Yeah.
Thanks. It seems like OneBlock have done a lot of stuff, including like hackathon, education courses, and for more developer events. So let's move on to the perspective to end user, our regular user, Polka world. So I used to ask like randomly within a Chinese community. So how do you exercise the latest Polkadot information in China? They will say like they use Polkadot because it's super like critical and regarded as an information hub. And I used to read some of the article that's really like straightforward and a little aggressive, I would say. The topic is kind of like people said Polkadot not alive, so let's find the evidence to prove of that, and how we can boost and recover Polkadot again within the Chinese community. So I'm also like wondering a question asked to Kristen. So in the past year, what content or events promotion you have seen received the positive community feedback? This is like the first question. I'm wondering to hear your insights.
I think in 2024, the most impactful content is the exclusive interview with Gavin Wood. Finally, Gavin started to face to the Chinese market. Community members are very happy to see that we can interview Gavin Wood. And also, Gavin Wood talked about the GEMS innovation. It could be the foundation for the next gen Web3. And also, he reviewed his vision for, reviewed his educational vision and this kind of stuff. So it is obvious that this one got the most impressions. Also, the core project in Polkadot ecosystem also resonated well, such as MySQL games. And besides that, it's very surprising. Our weekly Polkadot ecosystem recap, constantly rank the top rate content. So people are asking, are Polkadot still alive? And I can tell that the users are still alive. Maybe they are not attending the meeting, but they're keeping an eye on what is happening on Polkadot. So yeah, this is the most impactful content in Polkadot. Otherwise, there are also some critical articles. It's more about people always say what Polkadot are capable of, and you got no users. Such a critical topic is we also write a lot of original articles to debate for this.
Okay, it seems like a very common demand. I've seen not just in Polkadot, actually many of the, especially like newly launched chain, this ecosystem, they always ask a question, where is the user? And some of the suggestion from the community is that the founder need to play a key role, especially help hyping this ecosystem. And we have seen Solana and others ecosystem, they are doing that as well. But back to Polkadot, it seems Gavin Wood is kind of regarding as a founder of Polkadot, but relatively low key than other founder. For that part, what's your insight and opinion for that? Do you think the founder of Polkadot should be that kind of key role to hyping the ecosystem, or we still need to heavily rely on the power from community, decentralized?
I think the builder, the QL, for example, Gavin Wood is very essential for Polkadot at this stage. And usually decentralization is very important, but there are gonna be some person to leading in the beginning. And then, the followers or the contributors may fix the small stuffs, like how to finalize the development and how to finalize the OpenGuild and this kind of stuff. But the spiritual person really plays a very important role, in my opinion.
Understand. So from very thank you for each of you give insights for this panel, and we have seen what we need. The challenges we have faced is to find more developer, learner, and to boost the community, build up trust, and overcome the language barrier within the Asia community. And so for the last question, and this is based on the fact because this pre-jam event actually is a cross collaboration. From our the major Chinese community. So for the cross collaboration part, especially I have seen Phil, you mentioned there is a hackathon for Polkadot on Wednesday. So from your understanding and your expectation, what type of the collaboration, cross collaboration you think it would be ideal within Polkadot, and how we can contribute that together?
That's a great question. So at the Polkadot Hackathon that's coming up on Wednesday, first of all, if you're not coming and you want to come, definitely make sure you sign up ASAP, because I think the tickets are already closed, but we might be able to let a couple of you in. Cross-collaboration. We have a number of different parachains coming. So we have Origin Trail, we have Akawa, we have as well Crossed, and also NFT Mosaic, who are one of the Web3 decentralized futures grantees. And they're going to be talking, essentially all collaborating together. So NFT Mosaic is leading on NFTs or how they'll be used on Asset Hub. Then we have Origin Trail, going to be working, developers are going to be able to build, and they'll be mentoring on how to build AI agents. And I think that's what I like. I like to see that because I think on the topic of decentralization, when you have all these different teams working, I think the strength is actually that they can focus on different use cases. right? And I think that that's what we're going to see at the hackathon. It's a lot of these different teams and seeing what people can build when they compose together. Genuinely, it's so huge. And of course, we also have Bifrost as well, who's going to be giving workshops and also teaching developers about how they can leverage liquid staking and all sorts of different things as well in DeFi. So imagine if, for example, you have a team that's building AI agents, and then they have their own token, for example, and maybe you want to have some sort of liquid staked token. It can be very exciting because all these things are composable. So that's what I like to see. I think that if you look at what we could do in Web 2, if you were building, for example, maybe a fintech startup, right? You had to build all of the rails yourself. You then, or if you were already using somebody else's rails, you had to pay them big fees. Then, for example, if you wanted to handle payments, you had to start building all this stuff out. You had to build out your banking infrastructure, build out lots of different connectivity, different connective tissue. We're able to have all of that, and you don't have to. You can stand on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, when you actually partner together. So at the hackathon, obviously, we're going to see a lot of that, and I like to see a lot of that in general as well.
Looking forward to see more case study in the hackathon, and happy to see more winners comes to starting from Polkadot and starting their Web3 career path. And then, like the same question gave to Kristen. What's your opinion for cross collaboration within the Polkadot Asia communities? Because we have seen like there were many of the many activities and events happens last year, as our guest mentioned. But the problem is that it seems a little fragmented. So how do you think about how we can improve that?
Fragmental. You mean like every ecosystem just hold their own event?
Yeah, a little isolated, might be.
Yes, it is isolated. It is true. But a friend of mine visited me. A month ago, he was a VC for 5 years, and I was asking him like. You visited so many people in this month. What the difference do you see from last cycle compared to now? He said that it is obvious that people now are focused on their own stuff. It's not like before. Like you are a VCs, you invest in different ecosystem, and if you are a medium, some kind of this stuff that. Different people and different group of people, there's more specific focus on the different areas. So I think isolated is the trendy stuff. We need collaborations to attract more users or developers to our ecosystem. But it is true that different ecosystems attract different, type of users, like the gambling person. I'm not mean anything. The gambling person like Solana's much better. The people that trust tech, they love Polkadot more. So I think there are gonna be collaborations, but not in different angles and different. We don't have to collaborate in every aspect. And we can just, for example, we can learn from other ecosystem and cooperate with them. For example, Pump Fund works well on Solana, and maybe some developers are interested in developing some kind of applications on Polkadot. But for collaborating with, other developers, I think there are more entering point. For example, Polkadot is hosting the co-organizing the Gem Tour in mainland China for 4 cities, 4 universities, and we are the most young and smart young people are studying in this campus, and the blockchain clubs help us to for the promotions and for the venue logistics. They will attend the Gem Tour and to listen to Gavin's speech. I think And besides that, and we also, this Jam Talk cannot happen without the support from some local developer communities. For example, the Rebase, for example, OneBlock. So these kind of collaborations will bring new developers into the Polkadot ecosystem. Which is good is that Polkadot have the price, the gem price, and once they studied the gem and they can apply for the gem price, they can stay in the Polkadot ecosystem. So I think this is kind of logic and a healthy, collaboration, and which helps bring more developers to and more innovations to this ecosystem.
Good topic, Jam, because Gavin would also have a very detailed Jam sharing in the next hour. And it seems like Jam it will be a new topic for among the communities, can give more effort to attract the new developers. And based on like Jam, these topics and these the last two questions we'll give to OneBlock and OpenGuild. Both of you like are the localized developer community. One is in South Asia and then in China. So for Jam, this totally new topic and new technology, what's your idea for promoting it this year?
Absolutely. Since Jam is a great tool, like a great ecosystem for scalability and also much more operable than before. And we think from our side, from the OneBlock, we're gonna coordinate with Papermoon, and also we're gonna have more meetings and collaborations with the official like DAOs to talk about how we can construct our online courses, because we do have a huge amount of online course developers and also people who just came to the Web3, and we can adjust our course from. So previously our course was like focusing on substrate and also other stuff of skills and also developing languages. And with the emergence of Jam, so we're probably gonna to reorientate our course, and also we're gonna have more introductory courses for new beginners or for people who are not quite familiar with Polkadot or the Web3. And we're gonna have more advanced and more customized courses for people who do have some skills in development. And so if we can cater the developers in those, the head and the end, so we're probably gonna have like a more emergence of developer to the Polkadot. And also, speaking of the events we're gonna do, like hackathon stuff, one thing we found curious or we found troublesome is that we actually, through organizing the hackathons, we can help good teams or good developers to build their projects from 0 to 1. But after the events, just like you asked, the last question was about the fragmentations. If we can have certain collaboration between communities, maybe we have more funding to help them from 1 to 100. A lot of people, they have like different hackathons in different places, and we may have different themes or we may have different topics for the hackathons. But if we can have a huge demo day, each hackathon maybe have 5 to 10 projects showing together, and we collaborate together to actually help them from 1 to 100, to actually make them to be a permanent or a long-term developer in the Polkadot network. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
I actually have a lot of things in my mind right now. Yeah, because I agree to a lot of things. But okay, so for OpenGuild, since we are in Southeast Asia and it's not very much touched by Polkadot, so with Jam we might fast track things, because we just started introducing Substrate and now we have Polka VM. So with Jam, for sure we will do a module for that, because we already have a module for Substrate in Polka VM. Yeah, we will fast track for Jam definitely this year. But I also agree with the fragmentation. We can always come together, but I also agree to Kristen that we cannot always, collaborate. Funny thing is that I think 2 nights ago, one community member from Latin America messaged me, and then he said that he feels like our community is so fragmented, saying similar term, right? But I think the idea is that we do our own thing in our own countries or in our own areas, and we make sure that Polkadot has a good name there, right? Or a good foundation, and then eventually when we are ready, like for example, Polka World, ECA, OpenGuild, One Block. When we're all ready, then we can all collaborate when the time comes. Or for example, events like this, we can collaborate. I think fragmentation is good because it means that we see it from outside perspective, that we see a lot of things happening, but we don't do things all together. I think it's okay. It means like we're doing a lot of things to all these countries, to all these areas. So what I actually told the community member is that we are just making sure Polkadot is good in our own turf, and then eventually, I actually believe in our community that we're always ready to work until we think it's time. Like for example, I think for OpenGuild, we have open source. So when Polkadot Africa reached out to us, we said like, why not use our resources, right? It's open source, so anyone can use it. It means that they're ready. When I was in Parity, like 2 years ago maybe, or I don't know, 3 years ago, I saw like African community, and they're really fragmented. There's a lot of people doing things. They want to do a lot of things, but they couldn't do it. It was all just an idea of doing things for Polkadot, and now they're really implementing it, and they're doing it already, and now they are doing it as one. So now they're ready, right? So this is I think the one example that I'm saying that when we're all ready, maybe then we can do it, because there's two kinds of collaborations: outside our ecosystem and within our ecosystem. If we have collaborations, for example, for me in the Philippines, I have collaborations within the Philippines. I need that for Polkadot because I need them to be aware that there's Polkadot, right? And that the developers in Philippines can build on Polkadot. But I also need collaborations within the ecosystem, because for hackathons, right? For hackathons workshops, I need the parachains, I need these other communities to introduce to the Filipino developers. So these are the things that we are all doing. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort to coordinate things. But again, when the time is right, I think we will all do things, beautifully.
That's very nice sharing, and really appreciate everyone for sharing your experts here. So for the next part, let's open the floor and welcome back Max again, because it's a live Q&A session. We can have 3 or 4 questions here, and feel free to discuss in this event. So Max, would you like to come? Yes, my.
Are we moving to the hackathon now?
Yeah, but we still need 2 to 3 minutes to upload all this.
Oh, okay, so you'll take care of that,
Yes.
and I'll just do a Q&A with these guys here. Perfect. Okay, great. So while we're changing out the slides, let's do some Q&A for the panelists that we have here. So let me throw it open to the floor. We've got these 4 beautiful panelists. Any questions here from the audience? Yes, I see one question from Tommy.
Hello. When you're connecting locally in your region, I would be interested, what other ecosystems are people engaged in? Are they solely focused on one ecosystem, or are they interested in many different ecosystems? Yeah, and what's the relation to Polkadot?
You mean the Web3 communities? At least from what I see, they're interested to different protocols that support them, right? Because they have communities. So it's important for them that the protocols are supporting them so they can also support the builders. So it's whoever gives support. Yeah. And consistency. I think this is the recent realization that there are communities that they don't feel, how do you say that? They feel like they just want to be reached, but there's no consistency. And that's one of the learnings I received. So I said, like, Polkadot will do consistency. Because other protocols before me was like, oh, they were here only for once, and then they just said, okay, that's it. But then I said, we will do that. We will do that.
Perfect. Any other questions? Okay, I see one question here and then one question over there.
Hi guys, thanks for the presentation. This is a question for all of you, a quick one. What is the thing that excites you the most about Polkadot?
We go. I can kick things off, or we go. Okay. What excites me most is definitely the founder. I think that that's the most bullish thing about Polkadot. It is the guy who co-founded Ethereum, wrote the yellow paper, created Solidity, now is building Polkadot, and he's still here. He's still coming, and I had a look at his Jam Tour schedule, and it's just absolutely packed. We were catching up, well, not too long ago, and he's just super focused on the tech. So I think for me, the question around Polkadot is not so much around the technology. It's more something that I've always been thinking of. It's what wins out. Is it marketing or is it tech? I think that's it depends which side of the balance or the scale you fall on. I think that Polkadot, you can just look at the founder and see, okay, you know what, this is a technology chain and a technology play versus something that's pure marketing. Obviously, there are changes afoot as well, and the marketing is changing, and I think Polkadot is having more of a focus on marketing. But for me, at least, yeah, it's definitely the technology and just the fact that there's a visionary up front who has been in the space for a while and is really focused on actually the underlying fundamentals.
Anyone else wants to comment on this question before we move on? Oh, okay. Any other questions? I see one here from the audience.
Guys, so as I understand, you have some studying program in your university about Polkadot. Am I right? Yeah. So the question is it open source? I mean, if we wanted to expand it, as an example, I really wanted to have something like this in the Europe, and if you have something, maybe we can reuse it somehow, or basically is it in Chinese language or some other languages? It will be a little bit more complicated, but still.
The Jam Tour in mainland China, they're or English-speaking speeches.
On English or not?
Polkadot, our content is mostly Chinese.
Okay.
But just for the Jam Tour,
FAI.
yeah, for Jam Tour, the students are Chinese, but they have a very excellent English skills average. So
is it open source? I mean, can you share this program with some external universities across the world or not?
of course.
And with insofar as the EasyX Polkadot University, that's in English, and we're currently actually working on the content that will be released, should be ready within the next couple of weeks, and that will be open source as well. Yeah, and I believe that OpenGuild as well.
Patricia?
Yes.
I'm asking that, in mainland China, is there some limitation of accessing this?
Yeah, maybe from your politics inside your university, they, for example, can say it's just our internal, or you can share it with
For blockchain technology is very open. The government is supportive for the blockchain technology, and each university they have their blockchain club. Gathers a lot of students that are interested in blockchain. They can invite Gavin to universities and this kind of stuff. So only for the technical stuff that China mainland is very open.
Patricia wanted to add something?
Yes. So for OpenGuild, one of the things that we notice with the open source in Polkadot, it's everywhere. You know, it's you can just pick things that you need. But if you want to, like, for example, teach developers from the most basic to super technical, you can use OpenGuild. We made sure that it's in the, like, step-by-step process of learning Polkadot technology. We have a video and we have also the text. But this text, it's like a module from all different resources from technical writers of Polkadot. We just organized it based on how we think you want to learn Polkadot, right? You can do that in Europe also because, like what I mentioned earlier, Polkadot Africa also reached out to us for this structured learning module for their developer community. So I think you can do that. OpenGuild.wtf. That's where you can get that.
All right. Any final questions before we wrap up this session? If not, then I thank this panel very much. Very brilliant insight. Round of applause, please, for the panel.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna ask Dixon to stay on stage, whereas like the three of you can head off. Thank you. We're gonna remove the chairs now. Thank you, thank you. We can remove the chairs now. Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna hand it over to Dixon, who is gonna introduce the One Block Plus hackathon. So I'll leave it up to him to run you through the details here and invite like the individual